Strengthen Your Faith presents
How to Fix a Toilet!
All right. Turn off your water before you disconnect your toilet. There we go. Okay, so we had a small child flush down a toilet paper roll holder into this toilet. We tried moving our arms, putting our arms down the toilet. That didn't work. We were just getting ready to take the whole toilet off, and we figured that something like that would get caught in the gooseneck. Probably can't see it too good here because of the lighting, but basically where the big twist is in the toilet, and that happens to match up with just taking the top part of the toilet off. So with a flathead screwdriver and a socket of the right size, we're going to remove the top first to see if we can get there. Again, just 2 bolts. So we'll be right back on that part. Okay, so we're removing the toilet base. First we took the top off, which was just the 2 bolts. As you can see, 1 bolt there, 1 bolt there. There's a flathead on the inside, and there's just a socket, a bolt on the other side that we used to take the top off. You want to take that part off because moving the toilet around with that attached, there's a good chance that you'll crack the porcelain and need to buy a new toilet. So now we're just removing the 2 bolts, holding the toilet down to the wax ring. So, in doing this, you want to make sure you bought yourself a new wax ring because the old one has already been used for its seal, so it's lost its shape. And as soon as he's done, let's see, get some, don't know if you could tell with the lighter, not, but these are the bolts we're removing. He's working on the opposite side, don't want to get in his way. And that's the bolt that he removed. Looks like he's lifting it up. Just throw it in your bathtub or whatever have you. Now one of the first things you're going to want to do here is find a towel or something, because you're going to have raw sewage smell come up in your house if you leave that hole plugged. And then comes the fun part of finding what the child flushed into the toilet that most likely got stuck in the gooseneck that we couldn't get out. There we go. Okay, so here's our culprit from the little one who flushed it down the toilet. After many different attempts with steel and even using a wind blower and everything else, couldn't figure out a way. Then my buddy John here decided to use a garden hose in the bottom, going through the swan neck up to the bowl and using it like dental floss. And your end result, as you see, is a toilet that's going to work perfectly fine. Now, all we do is a reconstruction.
Oh, his mother?
Okay, now we're removing the wax with just a screwdriver. Paint scraper would probably work better, but a screwdriver will work good. You just want to get this as clean as you can. I'll spare you the details of scraping the whole thing for, for not having to watch this slow process. Just throw it in the garbage. You want to get this clean so you can seat your new wax ring on here. Okay, as you can see, there should be a hole in the center for easy removal. Now it's time to put the wax ring on. The wax ring is going to go down because we want this to make sure that all our waste does not come out of the sides here, and then the wax seals it down. So we put it down like that, and I'm going to remove the wax. I only have one hand, so I'll have to do that off camera. Bolts here. We're going to replace the old ones, which I already removed when I was scraping off the wax ring. And all I'm going to do is go into the same hole. There's a wide spot here. Plus you'll notice this is not completely round, it's oblong. And we are going to turn it like a key once we get in there and slide it to approximately where we think it's going to go into the bowl and push down the plastic to keep it where it's supposed to be. Do the same thing on the other side. Turn this. I know it's kind of hard to see. I didn't get all the wax off, but I got enough to where the new seal won't be affected. Slide it down to where you estimate that it'll make contact with the toilet, and then push the plastic down to hold it into place. When you push the plastic down, you're still able to move it. It just makes sure that the nuts or the threading does not wiggle around as much as it normally would. I think I'm going to touch up this area here, make sure that I got as much goo gone as I can, and then we'll seat the wax next. Okay. So I'm just going to tear this off as gently as I can because I don't want to misshapen the wax ring in any way. Always buy the biggest one you can. I found that to be helpful. The more protection you have, the better. And again, this is the end the waste goes down, so that's what we're going to fill the hole with. And it'll just fit perfectly like that. Now, when we seat the toilet on, we're going to take turns sitting on it to make sure we get a nice smash down on that. So I'll grab the toilet, which is right here. And I want to make sure these two bolts are going to come in on both sides here, which can be kind of tricky. So I'll just lift the top up and go really slow. I see the one on this side and I'm in. And I see the one on this side and I'm in. Wow, that was the easiest one. Glad to be on tape for that. Now, just kind of get them centered. That side's centered, this side's not. And these are going to move because as you tighten them, they'll come up. As we can see here, the toilet is definitely not straight. So all that means is I didn't line them up right as I showed you a little earlier, and that's why they still slide. Now, are these the nuts we use? No. Okay, we take the brand new nuts we got with the washers. And it's time to tighten. Just throw the washer down first and hand tighten the nut. Because it's brand new, this is why you want to use the brand new ones, because then it'll slide down good, and hopefully upon tightening the wax will hold it in place so you can get it tight. Now you want to act like you're a 90-year-old man when you're tightening these things. You do not want to use a lot of force because you'll crack the porcelain and have to buy yourself a new toilet. So both of them are hand tightened. Let's see if it's the same size. No, they're not always going to be the same.
It's on the socket.
That's the other socket?
It's on the wrench behind you.
Okay. Here we are. We got our socket. It's best to be deep weld because we got this long thing here. Make sure you go to right to tighten. You got to be really careful here. I can smell the fumes from the sewage. That's why you want to put a rag there. But you got to kind of feel, making sure that it's not spinning inside. And you're like, oh, yep, you hear that clicking? That means I got a bite. That's good news. Now I'm not going to tighten too far down because I don't want it to raise up on one side and not the other, so I'm going to work on the other side. First taking it down as far as I can with my hand. So hopefully we get that clicking sound, and we don't want the threaded bolt to spin with the nut when we tighten it. So let's hope we can get that magical sound we like so much. Not yet. This toilet tank's giving me such limited room to work here. There we go. We got a bit of a bite. And we're good. Now we're just going to tighten. I'm going to hold it all the way at the end so I could feel the torque. And now, you want to treat the porcelain kind of like tempered glass. Definitely don't want to over tighten because, like I said before, you don't want to have to buy a new toilet. And I tighten the other far side down harder than I tighten this one. That's why you're not hearing the clicking on this side anymore. There we go. This is my least favorite part. I always have a tendency for over tightening bolts. I think I'm going to stop there. Not really putting much pressure on. I'm not even hardly using a pinky strength. Problem is, if you're not tight enough, you're going to have a leak. But the bigger problem is if you're too tight, you need a new toilet. So it's better to flush your toilet, see a little bit of water coming out, and knowing that you can go a little tighter as opposed to needing to buy a new toilet and do the process all over again. Next up, we're going to put the tank back on. Lining up the bolts to the holes that are already here. If you're doing this job yourself, don't worry that you can't see it. It'd be very self-explanatory because you'll see the two bolts coming out the bottom. And there's washers in there, rubber washers, so when you tighten it, it automatically... Did you use these?
No.
Or these?
No.
Okay, and these use the bigger rounds, yeah. Right? So we're going to switch this out. And go from the bottom. You know, actually it's better to start finger tightening on everything. You just got a lot more control. Now you're going to want a flat-headed screwdriver. We didn't need the flat-headed screwdriver to take it off because of the rubber gasket, but they were since loosened, so we probably are going to need the flat-headed screwdriver as well as the wrench on both sides. And you don't want to over tighten either side of these for the same reasons as a bowl. Porcelain is just glorified glass. And you also don't want to over tighten because if you tighten one side and not the other, then your tank's going to lead one way or the other. And you'll have a leak. Alright, now, I think I actually did over tighten the other side a little bit by finger tightening it. I'm going to try just to use a socket on this one to bring them even, but if I'm putting too much force on the socket, I'll know that I have to loosen the other side. I don't think I'm quite there yet, so I'm just going to use this by hand because it'll get me a little bit better grip. And that was a horrible idea, guys.
What'd you do?
I didn't do nothing. It's just easier to turn a bolt that has ridges than something that's round while your hands are wet. Okay. Okay, so I'm not needing the flathead screwdriver to hold it into place.
I'm breaking a sweat holding this iPhone.
It's humid today. Oh, and of course, hopefully you watched this video before you started doing work. Turn off your water before you disconnect your toilet. Now, you can come to this side. And again, watching out for that glorified glass. You don't want to add much pressure. And it's such a fine line. Yeah, I'm not going to tighten any more than that until we get the water turned on and the toilet fastened down. Now these are just caps. Put those on. These are just for decoration. Stop recording. You search around everywhere you tighten the bolt to make sure that there's no leaks. No leaks around the rim. You can see pulling. And some of these leaks are really slow. So if that is the case, it just means you got to give that bolt a little bit more of a turn. Not much. But so far we're filling up nicely. And I'm not seeing any dripping. That's a great sign. And I don't believe we're seated good here. Nope, we weren't seated good there. Water was escaping. But that's normal to happen because we had just taken it apart and jarred it around. So let's see if removing that toilet paper roll did what it was supposed to do. I'm going to throw some toilet paper down there. And flush it. Looking for water leaks. Now, I know that you guys can see that little reflection of water, but that's because while you can mop it up, you can't get perfectly in between. But like I said, you'll notice that 2-3 hours from now, your toilet's running. Like you should be able to hear now when nobody used it. That's telling you you're losing water slowly. Or if you actually see a drip, you're losing it quickly. Okay, here's the problem. This, it looks like it's set too high because all the water is going down this pipe, which is a safety overflow. So we need to adjust this. Simply, usually a hand turn will do it. If not, alright, let's give it another flush.
Yeah.
And that's how you fix the toilet. Now, are we going to throw stuff down the toilet anymore?
No.
Is there anything you want to say to everyone in YouTube world?
No.
You're on TV. Say something.
Yes.
What would you like everyone in the world to see? Huh? We can't hear you whisper.
I'm sorry.
Aww.